guys, welcome to this week's video where I'm talking about something that is kind of taboo, especially for my generation. Looking at special needs or additional needs in adults that has been previously undetected. Now, when my son was born, I knew there was something different about him. The way he responded and behaved was very different to how my daughter was. And speaking to his teachers at school, they actually said to me, we think that your son may have additional needs or special needs. There's so many words for it and what's politically correct to say. But the way that it was always addressed to me is that your son needs additional support in school. It took many years to diagnose him, as there are a lot of tests and checkpoints along the way as he grew and developed and the way he understood the world. But ultimately he was given a diagnosis now that he's the age of 8. When they picked up at the age of 4.5 when he started school, it's taking around 4 years to get that formal diagnosis or diagnosis of autism with ADHD. So he was very hyperactive, had bags of energy, bouncing off the walls, and at the same time through autism, didn't understand danger, had no fear, and found it difficult to understand the meaning of words. So if you would say, "Are you cold?" he would say no, but he doesn't know what cold means. He would just kind of parrot fashion what people would say, but didn't understand the meaning of words or the consequences or concepts of words. So that in itself was really interesting, but as a mother I picked up on that and feel relieved that he has this diagnosis. They looked at me initially when diagnosing him and talked to me about Fragile X syndrome, which is something where you have a large forehead, elongated face, and a small part of your ear protrudes ever so slightly here. And they said, we think that he has got his disabilities from you as his mother. So I hadn't heard of Fragile X syndrome. We both took a blood test, whilst my son had his results that said he didn't have Fragile X. I also had my results that said I didn't have Fragile X, which is, as far as I'm aware, a chromosomal abnormality. So it's just having slightly different DNA. So they said that whilst I don't have Fragile X, I do contain a kind of carrier gene where the level in my blood was higher than the national average, but wasn't high enough to be diagnosed as having this condition. Something that you have from birth, it could possibly be hereditary, but often leads to autism and other spectrum disorders. So that was ruled out. He said, no, you didn't get it from your mum, from me, but your son is additional needs, has autism, ADHD. And because of that, he has one-on-one care at school. The way he behaves, the things that he says and do, there are a kind of understanding and consciousness of, okay, he doesn't see it in the same way. So understanding that means that he isn't just a naughty child. He's very, very focused, very driven, is fanatical about technology, and almost a genius level of excelling in one specific area where he gives it 110%. So I think a lot of people do have these same kind of character traits and things about them, but at the same time it's rarely diagnosed in adults, because my generation, if children were naughty at school, they'd be sent out of the classroom and punished. They never actually looked at the reason behind that. They never actually said this child has ADHD. And even members of my family have now, kind of years down the line, actually been told, well, hold on, there is something that you struggle with and this is why. So I kind of realised I was different my whole life. That was at school. I had speech therapy because I wouldn't speak. I found it very hard to make eye contact. And I see the same things mirrored in my son when he was at school as a child, So that in itself, I think, oh my God, could I be very similar to him in that way, where you think you're a normal person doing normal things? But kind of growing up, I never felt that I fit in, that I belonged anywhere, or could easily be that chameleon in life where I could be around other people and convincingly not stand out. If that makes sense. So I always felt this kind of awkwardness, didn't know what to do with my hands, didn't know how to sit, didn't know where to look. I found it difficult to make friends because I enjoyed being left alone by myself. So my friends are true friends, best friends, you know, like 2 best friends my whole life. And everybody else I get on well with, but I wouldn't call them friends in the same way, if that makes sense. So it's either 100% or 0%. You can't have like a 40% friend that might be alright but might stab you in the back. It's kind of very extremes, you know. I need that ultimate trust or no trust at all. Likewise at school, A-star student, I was very focused and driven with education. I still am now as an adult. I was that child that sat at the very front of the class, hand up for every question. Oh my god, I know the answer, me, pick me. When we'd have homework, I would often complete it in the lesson before the end of the day when the homework was set. And then I would go to my teacher and say, hey, can I have some more please? I've completed it. I was always the first person to hand it in. And over the weekend doing homework, I would do an extra 10 pages and then laminate it and colour code it and put stickers all over it and then hand it into my teacher, who'd be like, God, I've got to mark this now. Like, why are you doing this? Like, give me a break, you know? Just because my enthusiasm was so intense. It was effervescent, you know, in life. I realised that I had lots of energy as a single parent when I began bodybuilding, and that really increased my strength and stamina to the point that people couldn't keep up with me. That I would run for 10 minutes after having a baby and then think, hey, I can keep going. So I'd go for an hour, I'd go for 2 hours, and I kind of had, you know, that sense of a Labrador, where they love you unconditionally. They run up to you and they're like, yay, play with me, you're home, woohoo. I'm kind of like a Labrador 24/7. And when you then look at relationships, I have a hormone imbalance, which I have heightened prolactin. They thought I had a brain tumor when I was a teenager because my hormones were so over the top. But after having lots of different tests at the endocrinology department at the hospital, that she said, no, you are just naturally with this hormone imbalance. It's not caused by commonly a pituitary gland tumor. It would normally be the reason why you have this reading. So I know already that the way I'm built is very different to the people around me. And that's just from birth. You know, I didn't have a choice. It's not a lifestyle factor. So in relationships, whilst people would behave a certain way, think a certain way, feel a certain way, do certain things, mine would always be 110%. So I would be very in depth about being open and honest, telling the truth, being faithful, being dependable. My word is my word and I will never break a promise. So to find out that other people don't really do that, other people are unfaithful, other people are untrustworthy, that was quite a shock. I just believed that I was naive. I was raised in a village in the southeast of England, a very small, sleepy village, hadn't met many people, led a kind of sheltered, protected life. So I thought, well, maybe the big wide world is a lot worse than I realised. But actually, I don't think that is naivety. I think that is just this passion for justice and truth and doing the right thing. You know, having this consciousness where I would never treat people bad, but people so easily treat me bad. Because of that, people have cheated on me, people have stolen from me, even friends have stolen from me, partners, used me, abused me. I was in abusive relationships for over 10 years of my life, not realising it was abuse. So I do misjudge people. People can treat me very badly and I don't see the warning signs or the red flags in that. So that in itself was like, God, how could I not realise where people would run a mile, I stand there and take it and smile at the same time. And being bullied as a child, my teachers always said, well, we didn't know that you were bullied because you were always so happy, you always smiled. And even in abusive relationships, when I'd be shouted at, I would smile. And then I realised not everybody smiles when they're suffering, not everybody deals with pain and suffering in the way that I do, the way that I kind of just keep taking it without breaking, which it has helped me as a single parent to be able to be strong, to not be the victim, to be the survivor. But equally, I realised there is this massive difference in life and other people don't think and feel that way. You know, having a hormone imbalance, has affected my libido from what I'm aware of, and where some people are, few and far between. With partners, I would go to the extreme, 11 times a day, which I've been told isn't normal in relationships, but equally it's normal for me because I have this energy and stamina that is just unrivaled. So maybe I have this addictive personality, I really don't know, but because of that I steer clear of alcohol and drugs. I would never go from 0 to 60 with that because it is so intense. But I have hundreds of plants, lots of animals, 7 pets. I go to the gym fanatically almost, craving fitness, craving health, and just loving adrenaline and life. And I think not many people live that way, think that way, feel that way. Equally, in relationships, I can be very robotic. So to the point where I either don't get jealous at all, I don't feel insecure, I have this ridiculous amount of trust in somebody before they've ever earned it. So I will think that they will treat me the way that I treat them. Whereas other people will be a bit nervous, a bit insecure of their partner. They might check their phone, they might feel jealous or upset if they've gone on a night out. As I say, have a nice time, I'll drive you to the station. So people can think that I don't have this sense of love and caring because I'm not checking up on them, I'm not keeping them in line, I'm just allowing them to be themselves. So they think me as a person, I'm very open and honest. I will speak exactly what is on my mind in an almost literal way, which again is something that people aren't really used to. And they can think, well, if she doesn't mind me going out and I could get another girl's number, maybe she just doesn't love me. Whereas, I just don't feel that way. But then if I do fall in love, it takes me a long time to feel love, to feel that connection and sense of being okay with somebody. But if I do, then it is unconditional, it's all consuming. So it's either all or nothing really. And I've spent many years after heartache, several years, unable to feel love. And then when it switches back on, I'm like, oh God, no, here it is again. I'm actually quite scared of this. So it is really, really kind of bizarre how I live. But I've always felt this sense of everybody around me doesn't react in the same way. And when I look at being a mother, I have 2 children. My daughter is almost 14 and my son is 8 years old. People say you're nothing like other moms. And so I think, I can dress like them. I can wear baggy jumpers and tie my hair up in ponytails all the time. But that's not me. I wear bright colours and I jump off of rooftops, climb trees, do cartwheels. All of these things that other mums don't do. So I feel like, okay, I don't really fit in with the other mums, but I am still me, and being me, doing what makes me happy, going to the gym, laughing and smiling every day, being very hyperactive, jumping off of walls, that makes me me. And if I try not to be me, I feel this sense of suffocation. And it really is overwhelming. I just feel constantly judged by people. I guess being on social media, is that cause or effect of being in the public eye? People constantly criticizing my appearance, my life choices, the way I dress, like everything and anything about my life is constantly critiqued and criticized. So is that because of who I am, how I am, or just the way the world is? It's kind of understanding these things really. So when people say, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Aren't you embarrassed? You said this, you did this. I think, no. Are you ashamed? Should I be ashamed? Because I genuinely don't feel that. I don't have these limits in place. My body is very flexible. People say, well, you shouldn't be able to bend your limbs that way. And I think, well, it's normal for me, This is just how I am. Whereas other people say, oh my God, that should hurt you, or you should be scared of that. And I'm like, no, I don't even acknowledge it. Didn't realize that was the thing. And I can sit in a group of people, I can be smiling at something like, oh my God, that's great. And everyone else that's very serious and very calm. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's not great then, because nobody else is reacting how I react. Or other people could be scared of something. And I'll just be like, meh. it doesn't affect me in the same way. So I kind of check in with the people around me to realize that my response and reaction to things are very different to how they respond and react. And I think I find it quite hard to hide my reaction to things. I'm very emotionally aware with my expressions to things. If somebody's saying something to me and I think it's a load of crap, I'll be like, what? And I give it away straight away. I can't do that poker face where people actually can't tell what I'm thinking. I'm very responsive and animated in my movements, in my expressions. So people instantly kind of react when I'm talking to them. They're like, oh God, is she upset? Have I offended her? And I'm like, oh. I feel like that cringe factor, for certain things. But yeah, so I took these tests online because being an adult, feeling this massive, massive difference, it's like living with an invisible wall where everybody else is on the other side of it, and I'm almost there, but I can't get through it. I know that there is something stopping me from being like everybody else, but I can't tell how to get over this. Something I've always struggled with is sleep. I will just be so alert constantly, like superhuman hearing. The smallest thing will just trigger me, and my senses are so heightened. So I have sleep spray, I have sleeping tablets, I have ergonomic pillows and mattresses, breathable cotton. I have a sleep mask, I have earplugs that I put in, everything to make everything dark and close off my senses, take a bath, lavender, all of these different things, drinking chamomile tea, and it doesn't allow me to switch off and sleep. My mind is constantly churning, and as I say, I could hear a mouse sneeze a mile away, and I'm like, I'm awake, I'm alert. I think, why can people just fall asleep and stay asleep, whereas I'm kicking myself to get 5 hours? So all of these things together, I looked at online because these are very similar to the way that my son is, but my son seems to be a more extreme version of this. So I thought maybe, even though I'm not Fragile X, maybe I do have some undiagnosed thing as an adult. Where do I go for help? So I took these tests online, and it actually came back that it's likely I have autism and ADHD. And when you Google your symptoms and it comes back, you're pregnant or you have cancer, you should never Google things online, because what's fact and what is just speculation. So it's not a formal diagnosis, but it is pushing me towards this route where I feel that I probably do have OCD for cleanliness, routine, structure in life. Is it because I'm a busy mum, a single parent, and I need to do the same things every day for order, so there's no chaos? People always say to me, like, your home is immaculate. How do you do that with 7 animals and 2 children whilst working full time and studying and raising a family alone? I just say, well, because I can do it. Like, don't you do the same? People are like, no, God, my house goes to wreck and ruin just working 8 hours a day in an office, and they're not even home and they don't have children. So for me to just be this kind of machine where I will be so transfixed on something, I forget to eat because I just work and work and work and work until the point of collapse. And then I think, oh, I've achieved that. Instead of taking a break and stopping what I'm doing, I'll set up the next thing. I'll have the next goal. I have the next exam lined up, or the next experience, or I book more work on top of work. And all I do is just get more stamina and more motivation and drive. And I think, where does that end? When I haven't slept all night and then I'm working continuously and studying with the children, and I don't ask for help from people. I literally enjoy being left alone and just immersing myself in life. It really is bizarre, but I'm looking now to find answers as an adult as to why these things happen and why I think and feel this way, which seems to be very different to the people around me. Yeah, I would like to have answers to this. I don't know how to go about it. I know there are private clinics that look at diagnosing these things in adults. Again, Do you go to lots of different ones? Do you look for an ADHD place somewhere, an autism place somewhere, OCD somewhere? Is there one umbrella that can kind of tell you everything? Is it a therapist? Is it a psychologist? Is it a GP, a doctor? That's kind of what I'm hoping to understand, really. And also to ask you guys for help, because I'm hoping I'm not the only one on this earth that has just sort of fallen through the cracks and suffered in silence as an outsider for so long. You know, you can convincingly fit in with people through learning how to cope, but that doesn't stop you feeling the way you feel. And I think for me, the way that I can explain it is like being a duck on a pond. Everybody else sees you calm and collected, but under the surface of the water, your feet are paddling incredibly fast just to stay afloat. And you know, yeah, when I'm around people, they might think, oh, she's really confident, she's really sociable. But then equally, you know, people can accuse me, she's attention seeking. God, she's really dramatic. And I think, no, I'm not being or doing anything. I'm just being here as me, but I see the big difference in other people not being the same way that I am. Maybe they're just more guarded about showing their true selves through fear of judgment, or maybe I'm just too open because I don't have that off switch of you know, being politically correct, either all or nothing. So yeah, it'd be really good if you guys can give me any tips or help. Tell me where to go to get a diagnosis, to understand this better, and also to raise awareness, because even for children to receive a diagnosis, for my son, has taken so many years, and that really was an uphill struggle, which had it not have been for the head teacher of the school pushing for this educational support, my son would have been left behind. You know, he would have fallen through the cracks. More so in girls, it's very hard to diagnose autism, especially in adult females. And I fall into this kind of category of, you know, like wanting to know if you've been adopted, where do you come from? Who are your birth parents? What makes you who you are? I feel like I need to understand and know in myself, for myself, what am I? How am I? And why do I feel this massive difference? So really, I'm hoping this will turn into a kind of journey and diary about how I go about finding a diagnosis. Is it a good thing to have? Is it something that will bring me relief in life, knowing, okay, you will react and feel this way, so here are some techniques that you can apply that makes life easier for you? Or will it be a bad thing? Will it prevent me from doing certain work projects because I will be deemed as vulnerable or unable to participate because of additional needs? So I really don't have a clue, if I'm honest, but I do feel this massive sense of a weight on my shoulders, this glass wall that separates me from the rest of the world. And I would like answers, whatever shape or form they come in. Anything will help me to understand better and kind of have that moment of, I knew it was something, you know. So here we go, I guess, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on this. If you have similar traits and kooks and quirks, is it natural? Is it normal? Are we all to some extent versions of this spectrum? Or am I completely, utterly off the scale, different in the sense that the way I live my life is nothing like the people around me? And very rarely do I ever see somebody that understands or feels the way that I feel. So yeah, to find that kind of belonging without joining a cult, preferably, but to find like-minded people. I think that's what we all kind of search for in life. So I will keep you updated, and please feel free to share your own experiences of this. If there is any hate or negativity, don't worry, I will block it immediately, because this should be something that we can speak about openly and honestly. Break down these taboos. Thank you for joining, guys. Take care of yourself and each other, and I will see you all soon. Part 2 on its way as and when I make progress.